What's going on, guys? Talk Norwich City here, back for another video. Today I'm joined with someone who's inspired me a lot, Chris Goreham. How you doing, mate?
Hello, Jack. Yeah, nice to see you.
Yeah, good stuff. I suppose moving on to Norwich City now, it's been a turbulent season, you could say, an interesting one. Started off very well, now being put into the relegation zone. Is this what you expected at the start of the season?
Well, you never know what to expect with Norwich City. One thing I've learned from doing this job, it's not dull. There's always something going on with Norwich City. In the 10 years that I've been commentating, we've had promotions, relegations, playoff finals, all sorts of other stuff, haven't we? So I did think it might be a struggle this season. I didn't think Norwich would be cast adrift at the bottom. I just thought that because they started the season really with pretty much the same squad that had been relegated 2 seasons ago, that was the reality check. I think Alex Neil's a great manager. The wonders that he worked last season proves that he's a fantastic manager who's going to go places in the game. But yeah, I did think this season would be difficult, and it's proving such. I think staying up would be a really big achievement for Norwich City this season.
Definitely. What do we need to do to stay up then? I suppose we didn't really make the signings in the summer that we probably should have done. Who was to blame for that, I guess?
Yeah, well, without knowing what goes on behind the scenes, it's difficult to apportion blame and say they didn't do that, they didn't do that. The one thing I would say is that it is more complicated than saying they didn't spend enough money, because you go back a couple of summers when Norwich did have a huge amount of money to spend going into their 3rd Premier League season, and they did spend it. They spent like this club has never spent before on Ricky Van Wolfswinkel, Leroy Fair. That looked like a summer where Norwich were going to go places, and it didn't work. Throwing money at the problem is not always the answer. It helps you to attract better players in terms of the wages, but I think it's the scouting network. You have to have those players, those people, those contacts who can pick out the players that are really going to make the difference for you. And that's the side of it that we never get to see. We turn up and watch the first team play, we never see what goes on behind the scenes. But yeah, I think Norwich fans are very loyal. They stay with the club, they stay with the team. If we go through the January transfer window and there isn't at least a defender and a striker coming in, or at least the club can't show that it did all it possibly could to bring in some of those marquee signings, some of the signings that the fans really want to see, then I think patience will start to wear a bit thin, and rightly so, because Alex Neil has at the start of the season said he wanted to sign a defender and a striker. He spent the first half of the season saying, we're good, we play some good stuff, but we switch off. It's both boxes that are the problems. The clues are there. I know January is a difficult time to do business and all of that, but they've got to do something in January, or I think they will. They won't really have a leg to stand on when it comes to defending themselves from criticism if things go against Norwich in the second half of the season. Definitely,
yeah. A player who's kind of been in the news for all the wrong reasons recently, John Ruddy. What do you put that down to? Is it a confidence issue? I suppose being a goalkeeper is an incredibly tough job, and I think maybe the pressure's got to him a bit.
Well, yeah, we'll never know. Again, none of us were there on Saturday night, and we've seen the videos since. So yeah, who knows what's going on with John Ruddy? A couple of weeks ago we spoke to him on BBC Radio Norfolk, and he was honest enough to admit that his form has been patchy this season. And when you've got a player prepared to admit that, you know that here's a man who's not been performing to his best. I think Declan Rudd deserved his chance in the first team. He's a goalkeeper that, when I've seen him in the past for Norwich City, I've not been 100% sure about. We haven't seen that much of him. But when he got into the team this year for the cup ties against Rotherham, against West Brom, I thought he was brilliant. I thought he had 2 fantastic games. And because John Ruddy, by his own admission, was not in the best of form, if you're not going to give Declan Rudd a chance now, then you probably never were going to. So I think it had to come, and I think so far, 2 games in, he's looked the part. Whether he's going to be the Norwich number 1 for weeks, months, years to come, you just don't know, do you? Because things change. But he's a good goalkeeper.
Finally, are we staying up?
I think we are. Yeah, I really do. I think Norwich have had this run now of 1 win in 11 or whatever it is, and yet they're still only in the relegation zone on goal difference. I think they will get better in the second part of the season. I think Alex Neil is a shrewd operator. He's an honest manager. He's a joy to interview because you always get an honest answer to a question. You don't get excuses from him. You don't get refereeing decisions blamed, injuries blamed. He really does come out and tell it like it is. And if what he's telling us, if the way he comes across in front of camera and on a microphone is reflective of what he's like in the dressing room, then that fills me with optimism. I don't think Norwich are going to stay up by, it's not going to be comfortable, but I think they will stay up. Yeah, I've got every reason to believe that they will.
Chris, as always, pleasure, mate.
No, cheers.
Thanks very much. Cheers.